A very good evening to all of you. On behalf of Jaipuria Institute of Management, I, Sanandi Sachdeva, welcome you all to the webinar on design thinking. The Institute has always been at the forefront when it comes to inviting stalwarts from the industry on the emerging topics and facilitate the academia. Today, we have been endowed with the opportunity to listen to these stalwarts from the industry. We have with us Mr. Ajay Agarwal, Design Thinking Practice Lead, KPMG India, a dynamic professional with more than 14 years of experience, a proactive individual having strong international and domestic business experience in key account management, strategy business development, growth strategy, business advisory, program management. He is MBA marketing strategy, a design thinker, a storyteller, and a Six Sigma black belt. We are delighted to have you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Equally delighted and excited.
We have with us Mr. Radha Mohan Gupta, Regional Procurement Director, South Asia, Reckitt Benckiser, a supply chain professional with 26 years of track record of designing and managing supply chains across FMCG and consumer durable sector. He is recognized for business perspective, customer service mindset, people management, leadership, and operational deliverables. We are elated to welcome you, sir, on the e-platform. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sanandi, very much. I'm also equally happy to be here among all of you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vikas Madan, Senior Director, Capgemini, a seasoned professional and adroit leader with over 20 years of cross-cultural experience and right blend of technology, operations, and learning domains. He possesses a strong forte in project management, leading capabilities, service management, event management, and facilitation. We welcome you on the e-platform, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Sunandi, and thanks everyone. Pleasure to be here in this panel today.
May I also welcome Dr. Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, a seasoned academic professional. Professor Narang has a rich experience of 25 years in the field of academia and management in West Business and Management Institutes in India and abroad. He is known as an institution builder, an acclaimed teacher, a prolific speaker, an avid researcher, a consultant, and a trainer. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sunandi, and welcome to all of you.
We have with us Ms. Anjali Khanna, Vice President HR, Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, a people-oriented person who believes that people can make or break an organization. A firm believer of people-first approach, she brings with her over 25 years of experience in human resource management, currently works as Vice President HR with Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions. Prior to this, she has worked with corporates like CMC Limited, Randstad India Limited, and Indian Express. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anandi.
I now request ma'am, Ms. Anjali Khanna, to please take over as the moderator of the session for the day.
Thank you so much, Sanandi. It's always a pleasure when you start.
Thank you.
So it's a privilege to welcome all of the esteemed panelists. Thank you, Radha Mohan sir, Vikas, Ajay for being here. Let me also welcome all the close to 1,400 people who are watching us live on Facebook. Closely observing our panelist profile, I realize that we have subject matter experts from the major sectors who can help the economy sail through such unprecedented times that we are going through. So to begin our session today, I request Dr. Narang, Director of Jaipuria Institute of Management, to welcome our speakers and give some introductory remarks to all of us. Dr. Narang.
Thank you, Madam Anjali. A very good evening to all of you. I, Professor Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, welcome you all to the webinar of Design Thinking. I'm extremely thankful to all my panelists who have taken out time for us and the great audience listening to us across the country, especially to Mr. Ajay Agarwal from KPMG, Mr. Radha Mohan from Reckitt Benckiser, Mr. Vikas Madan from Capgemini, and my fellow colleague, Madam Anjali and the Sanandi. My sincere gratitude to all of you Also, a very warm welcome to all the participants from academia and the corporate on the C platform. I welcome you all on the board on today's journey where we have so many creative thinkers in the panel who will be able to give the new dimensions to the challenging domain of design thinking. Well, the discussions of the day is going to be very rewriting as the topic of the day is design thinking. While pondering upon the basic, concept of the design thinking, it's a cognitive, strategic, and practical process by which the design thinkers started. In fact, recently we have suddenly, listening to this, new areas from every corner of the business and the, on the language of the leaders. So probably, maybe I'm thinking probably it's a century back, why designs are so important. I wish I could go back to the time and spin the wheel of the time. Well, as I mentioned, wheel, it was a great invention. It was the most innovative design the human race has ever invented till date, a wheel on which the whole industrialization is based and which made our life so comfortable. So can we imagine our life without this? So the backbone of the modern world is this. So design thinking has a human centered core. It encourages organizations to focus on the people they are creating for, which leads to the better product, services, and internal processes. When you sit down to create a solution for a business need, the first question should always be, well, what is the human need behind it? So if you actually focus on this, human race has been doing this for many years. It is the just that it has caught our attention recently, and this terminology coming up as the design thinking. Well, all the concept of design thinking are basically based upon our needs in different areas and our willingness to address it. We all are, in fact, it's my, opinion, we are all design thinkers, and some of us more innovative and proficient thinkers who are able to give shape to the idea which keep on germinating in our minds. Whenever they sees a problem, they feel a challenges and the solution is coming out. So like any an interrelated chain, if you focus, you will find each step intricately weaved in the next. So talking about the step of design thinking, first, as the process is shown everywhere, so first you empathize, an empathic understanding of the problem you are going to solve. Then you define, you put together the information you have created and gathered during the empathic stage. Now you have grown to understand the user and their needs. So you have analyzed and synthesized your observation. Then you end up with a human centered problem statement. So next step is now you ideate by thinking out the box to identify new solution to the problem that you have understood. And then the post this, you can have the prototype by producing product, and then you test your probable solutions to the problem statement which you have set in the beginning. So this is all seems not as linear as I have mentioned in the process. This is actually, I feel it's a non-linear in nature. It's very iterative, and but yes, it's a flexible and focused on the collaborations between the designers and the users, with an emphasis on the bringing idea of the life. So well, if I this is the process which we know that. But if I talk about the education sectors, it is always imperative to find that what are the characteristics of the design thinking that make it particularly fruitful for the education, and how the design thinking applied in different education settings. and definitely the tools tools and the techniques which are applicable, the methods and the characteristics of the design thinking which actually suit to the education. We as an education institute are working on the way to find out these answers, but I'm sure today we have our so intellectual esteemed panelist with us from the industry, so they will definitely will help us to getting the answers very close which we have raised. So by these words I am closing my address. So but definitely I salute all my design thinkers of the human race, by virtue of which our life is worth living. Thank you very much and welcome you again. Over to Sanandi.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Requesting Anjali ma'am to take it forward.
Thank you so much, Sanandi. Thank you, Narang Saab. I was always confused about design thinking, and you have confused me further. So there is so much of buzz about design thinking, but one really keeps worrying about what design thinking is. And जो definition मैं इतने दिन से पढ़ रही थी, रट रही थी, आपने मुझे वो सुनाई, और मुझे लग रहा है मैं और confused हो गई. हाँ? So I was also going through some research work that I was doing on design thinking. So I actually always thought, Ajay will, of course, when he speaks, he will correct me, and so will Vikas and Radhamohan sir. I always connected design thinking, or for that matter, project management with IT. I always thought this was hardcore IT, unless sometimes like Vikas only clarified some bubbles around project management for me. And then I thought design thinking is IT only. And then I came across one article on internet which said some case studies about design thinking. So I thought ye to Apple, Microsoft hoga, and it started with Apple, Microsoft applied design thinking to improve their products and services. But then I realized it is also talking about Pepsi or the banking sector, and Ambro. And then what was very amazing was that GE had some GE Healthcare used design thinking to redesign their MR scanners by the use of painting and storytelling to help kids who are being investigated at that time. I still could not fathom the logic of using storytelling and painting for this. So probably pick this up at the appropriate time. And what was very funny was that a second grade teacher used design thinking to reconceptualize the the whole classroom structure to make it better for the students and their needs. So the story actually said, the case actually said that he discussed with his students, which were just about second standard would be what, 6-7 years. And this 6-7 years students were made to answer his questions about what was good in the class, what was not good in the class. When he realized that the soft boards that he had put on the class, on the walls of the class, were a little too high for these students. Now these soft boards had very beautifully been put on the walls, and we had a lot of creative stuff over there, which because the students gave this feedback, he brought them down. So I was looking at this, I said, second standard student, why so? Why second standard student? How can they give, this kind of reply to, or how can they help in design thinking? Or unko to apna hi design nahi pata hota bachcho ko, how will they do some kind of a design thinking support? Then I came across this point which Narang Saab just shared, that the core of design thinking is actually human beings, which means that the center of design thinking lies at the customer. Now, I am an HR professional, and I always look at human angle in everything I do. And to tell you the truth, honestly, I am further confused. So I am not going to waste more time talking about my confusion. So I'm going to move on to Vikas. Please help me understand that ये design thinking का concept क्या है, background क्या है, और ये storytelling और ये painting and all these things. I mean, I don't know how they are connected, and why is there so much of hype suddenly about design thinking? Like Narang Saab said, probably 100 years old concept. I don't know, probably even older than that. I'm not aware of it. I haven't really heard the term design thinking. I probably heard in the last 10, 12 years, and lately a little too high. So over to you, Vikas. Let's hear your comments on what is design thinking. ये चिड़िया है क्या?
ये चिड़िया बहुत खूबसूरत है, रंग बिरंगी है, और actually I asked multiple things in one question. So let me break it down into pieces. First, you mentioned about design thinking being used in IT. Yes, to some extent, these things like agile or design thinking, these things actually come from IT industry. So agile, for example, it was initially developed by IT software professionals. So that's where the origin probably lies there. But when you closely look into the principles, then you realize that ये तो हर जगह apply हो सकता है. And that's how it became widespread. So origin and present usage might be two different things. So that's one. And second, I think it's easy to understand design thinking by first understanding what is not design thinking. For example, visual design is not design thinking. So, जब भी आप किसी workshop में हैं, they do the scribing or you make some things with Lego blocks and all. That is the tool which is used in design thinking, but that is not something which we call design thinking. Second, design word in dictionary, it has noun and a verb both, and people get confused that design thinking, design is probably noun. No, it is not. आपके steering wheel पे जो button लगे हैं उनको look and feel कैसा है, that is not design thinking, but the process to bring that on the steering wheel is design thinking. So design thinking is more about thinking than about the design. And then normally we do not use design thinking for process improvements or for reducing defects. For that we have like Six Sigma, Lean and other methodologies. There is a particular set where we use design thinking normally. So these are the areas where we not use design thinking, what design thinking is not. Now by the definition, as Narang sir also said, you also said, if I summarize it, design thinking is about methodology, which is human-centric. We say client at heart, which is collaborative, and problem solving, which is based on building and testing, build and test, iterative. So it is explorative and it is iterative in nature, and it is used for challenges and problems which are complex, which typically we call as a wicked problem or an ill-defined problem. Or what is a wicked or ill-defined problem? A problem which has no proven solution. A problem where good solution in hand doesn't exist. A problem where best practices do not exist. हमें पता ही नहीं है. And we want to sit together and apply design thinking principles to get to a solution. And that's why you have to keep experimenting and keep learning from those experiments. So you experiment, you learn, then you re-experiment, you learn, you re-experiment and learn until you converge into a suitable solution. So that's how the process of design thinking goes. And it is also about visualizing your design. So if you're in a design thinking workshop, it always helps if you use the visual designs. Normally we have the Lego blocks and the soft toys and other logistics with which you can make and put something together, so that you also ideate your design that this is what I'm thinking, and others are also able to see it, that this is the prototype which we are talking about. So these are the things which we do in design thinking. So the most important thing in this methodology, it is not a process. So process is that you go from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an iterative methodology which is based on experimentation. So you go from step 1, 2, 3, then come back to 1, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 2, then 3, then 4. So you keep on doing that until you converge into a solution. So that's what design thinking is. Now, another thing which you asked, is it a hype or is it something which is new? Now, what if I tell you that Thomas Alva Edison, when it is invented the bulb, or Wright brothers, when they invented aeroplane, they used some of the concept of design thinking. They kept experimenting until they find the solution. Everyone knows that 1,000 failed attempt of Thomas Alva Edison. Now, knowing that, do you really think it's new? Or do you think it's a hype? And as Narang sir said, it's about 100 years old. So I don't exactly remember the name of a person, but his last name was Taylor. And that person in late 1800s and early 1900, he used this design thinking concept to design the tools of the coal mining people. He was using design thinking principle कि ergonomically ये वाले tools कौन से suit करेंगे इस miner को, so that he is able to have maximum productivity. So he kept on redesigning those tools and taking continuous feedback from those people. So that's what we believe is the origin of design thinking. But later on, it was adopted by ITO and other organization, and they formalized it. See what happens actually. ये जितने भी researchers हैं, they look into that what has worked in the past. Why some people and some experiments were successful, like Wright brother, like Edison, and then what methodologies did they follow, which was workable, and based on that they define a framework or a methodology, and they box it, give it a name, and then give it to entire set of people or humanity so that they can use it widespread. And now you have something which is proven, which has been used in the past, which actually helps. So it higher your chance of finding a solution if you use these set of methodologies in your problem. That's what design thinking has been boxed, and same is the process with Agile. I mean, these two terms now, what I'm now telling you is my personal belief, so my company has nothing to do with it. Yes, design thinking is useful, and it is not very old methodology, but again, everything has some commercial entanglement and economic processes purposes attached to it. And as I always say, we as Indians, we are very great in finding a solution and delivering it. What we lack severely is how do we present it to the world. The US, on the other hand, is excellent in putting a presentation layer around everything they do and sell it to the world. You take like neem, turmeric, yoga, everything we have been using from time immemorial, but US patented it. Although now it's back to India, but that's how the presentation layer works. And is it a coincidence that both Agile and design thinking, the two most popular terminologies which we have been using for the last 1 decade, both come from US? And as I said, this is my personal opinion about it. And another reason I think it has become more popular is lack of knowledge with the people that where exactly design principles are normally applied. It's people believe that it's one size fit all formula. It is not. It's actually one size fit one, and that's why tailor made. Taylor was the person who initially designed it, so it's tailor made. It's bespoke. So that's what what is not design thinking, and then what is design thinking. Where do we use it, and why it is so much of hype about it. That's how I believe.
Great, thank you so much. So we have people from various communities over here, whether it is IT sector in our participants list. I can see questions which are specific to every industry possible. So now I'm getting very inquisitive to at some stage probably ask one of you, how does it work for the HR people? But then over to Ajay. Ajay, you have to unmute yourself. So Ajay, I think lovely start given by Vikas, but I want you to answer now. मैं अगर ये बोलूँगी कि थोड़ी सी और confused हो गई हूँ in terms of when I talk about specifically every industry that we are talking about. So you come from IT industry, and rather both you and Vikas are IT people that we have. Tell me, how does it support the design thinking is specifically supporting the IT setups? And especially in this kind of time that we are going through right now, where does design thinking and IT come together, and what role does it play today for us?
Okay, I think first of all, interesting story build up, Dr. Anjali. So I think I'll first, and then taking the two key questions that you've asked, I'll first take the first one, which is about how is design thinking shaping up in this crisis or in this situation today? I mean, what is in the present situation that we are, how can it help organizations? That's one. And the second one that we will talk about more is around the IT part of it, which we will come to as the second part. But first, let me address around what do I think about the crisis thing. Okay. Now, it is my view, first thing about this crisis is it has taught a lot of lessons. And when I'm talking about lessons, I'm talking about all three levels. Individuals, organizations, and the government as well. Lessons on all three. The biggest lesson that I feel that it has taught me is that the planet is not only for humans. It's for every inhabitant that is there living on this planet and occupying this planet. Now, what does this mean to designers? Let's try and I feel that in all our contexts, everyone who's there on this call, attending or organizing or being a part of the panel, all of us are designers in some shape and form. What does it mean for us? Okay, I think 3 principles, and I just take it as 3 principles. How do I understand design thinking? 3 principles that I look at. Empathy above everything. That's 1. Second, I look at it as experimentation is the only way. That's the second thing second principle that designers work on. And the third thing that we talk about is evolution never ends. That's the third, or the mindset that a designer carries. That's what he has in his mind, that the evolution of anything that I'm designing will never end. Now, if we're talking about these 3 as the principles of what designers have, what does the present situation, the present unprecedented times of COVID, what do they bring in context of these principles? I think the first thing, we talked about human-centered, and that's what we all have been talking about on this, as an introduction also, and as part of my colleague who was part of the panel. I think we're talking about human-centered. What I feel is necessarily changing, and I call it as the inverted empathy wheel. Okay, when I say inverted empathy wheel, it means that if you imagine the wheel as 3 concentric circles, the innermost circle normally would be the human or the user whom my design is targeted towards. Then the next outer wheel would be the other humans that are around which are influencing. And the third would be maybe the other environmental things that are getting impacted, or the other inhabitants of the planet that are getting impacted. Maybe that's the third wheel that we talk about. I think design and empathy per se, if we talk about as designers, we need to invert this entire wheel. We need to start thinking about the inhabitants that are there in this planet first. It's not only about humans, it's not only about us, it's about the entire environment and the entire planet around us. That's 1. The second wheel, which this would be the innermost focus. The second wheel that we'll talk about is the people or the humans around us. And the third wheel should be us, which is the big me that I always think of, that whatever I'm designing, I have to have me into my design. So I think I feel that the first change that designers themselves, in any space you are in, whether you're in HR, whether you are in IT, whether you are in processes, whether you are in an education institute, any place that you are, I think that is the model that you have to start thinking about, that whatever I'm designing, how will it be adding value to the planet? Then come to humans. I think that's the shift that needs to come in. And so at least what I feel in the present crisis, the theme of design should change from human-centered design to actually design to accommodate, which is about our design should be accommodative of everyone who is there around us, including the living and the non-living things that are there. We should not be thinking of that while I'm designing a factory, I am spoiling the next water body that is flowing just from the side of my factory. I should be thinking about that. How am I taking care of all these things? Because whatever we're facing today, the seeds were sown long time back. And whatever we'll face tomorrow, the next generation, what will they face is what we have to design today. And if we actually fumble on that, I think we're going to leave a very bad taste for the future generation to come in. So I feel in the present time, when we talk about empathy, our conversation of empathy has to expand into all the inhabitants of this planet, whosoever it may be living, non-living, and then start putting any design around it, then start experimenting, and then start evolving anything around it. So I think, if I talk about empathy, that's the first thing. Second, when I talk about experimentation, I think a lot of people around us have reach out to me, and maybe and others as well, that what should we do to revive our business? What should we do to do this? What should we do to do that? I think the only if I talk about historical reference that we can take of the present situation is the Spanish flu. And I'm sure none of us were alive during that time. So we don't know what happened then, and we never would know that how did people kind of come over it. It's about experimentation. You will have to make your own experiments. You will have to learn from the experiments and then try and do anything around it. So I feel that this is how I see as design thinking itself adapting to the present principles of crisis. And that's how I think design thinking will evolve in the future as well. And that's the first part I just wanted to give you. The technology part of it, if you want me to cover right now itself on how is it supporting technology firms, or you want me to take it later?
No, maybe we can come back to it later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ajay. Just two things. One, in between, your voice is fading. So if you can keep your mic closer to you. And so are you hiding in between. So if you can just, sit back. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Because you are gone, so your camera is off to see if there is any technical issue. So coming to Radhamohan sir, thank you so much for waiting. When it comes to design thinking, the next buzz around, which is not coming from these two gentlemen here, not from their industry, but when we move out, or rather with one concept which is very, very important these days and picking up, practically taking everybody by the wave is SCM, the supply chain management. How do you see these two connected, coming from a retail sector yourself? You are a FMCG person. How do you see this getting connected?
Okay. Thank you, Anjali, for I've been hearing two views and could see the totally different views from Vikas and Ajay, but the concept remains same. So it was good to listen from my co-panelist over here. However, I think before I go on how it is relevant to supply chain management, I think we have been hearing, and in this pandemic, even our Honorable Prime Minister talked at least 5 times into his last address about the supply chain management. You will see wherever I go, I start with that. Why it is so important is SCM, and how design thinking is relevant to it is we need to first understand that what is this supply chain management. If we look at it, this is something which delivers the expectations of the customer from one end to another end. And we know the consumer behavior is totally changing now. They are more experimenting, their purchasing power is going up, brand loyalty is no more there. And because consumers are changing, the markets are changing. Now markets are moving from, the product differentiation. Now a toothpaste is a toothpaste is a toothpaste. Monopoly is gone totally. You come out with a product, you find that there are products already available, or they come very next day, which are similar to your product kind of thing. So markets are changing. When we see consumers are changing, markets are changing, then these are the supply chains. If you see in the market, if you see the brands are being fought by the marketing function, I think the ammunition is being given by the supply chain management in terms of the product design, in terms of the right time deliveries. It could be even the cost, because the market is very cost sensitive. So supply chain management has become now a weapon in the hands of the organizations where it plays a major role. Now that is the part of supply chain management. Now, if we talk about the design thinking, as per me, the design thinking has, and somebody has already mentioned about it, it is in our day-to-day life. Every one of us is a design thinker. We are designing one or other thing in our life kind of thing. So it is, as per me, it's an iterative process. And looking from the supply chain point of view, we put ourselves into that shoes of the end user. We try to understand that what end user really wants. Number one. Number two, what we challenge the assumption. Only this product or this solution can be given. Why there is no alternate available? So we challenge the assumption. Number two. Number three, we go and then we redefine the problem. And once the problem is redefined again and again and refined, and then we get to the solution that for this problem, this is the solution. You do the prototyping and experiment. Let me give an example to this from FMCG industry. If you ask a consumer or a consumer if he wants a glass cleaner, I want to clean my glass. It's as simple as that. One approach will be that I have a product which you take and then take from the bottle, maybe in some wiper, and then start cleaning the glass. It becomes very clean. The glass becomes very clean and the objective is achieved. And what supply chain has done here is designing a product which functionally is approved by the consumer. Very well job done. Now what a design thinker will do is that what consumer needs is cleaning the glass. right? That is the functionality. However, if you see the design thinker, while the product is being designed, if he puts himself into the shoes of her, the consumer, then he'll say somewhere she'll have to pour it. And how she'll pour it, maybe from the bottle. It could be a pump, it could be simply in a lid, you take it and then transfer into a wiper kind of thing, or a design thinker will, one of them will think it could be easier to spray and let us have a trigger over there kind of thing. Now that is design thinking. When this product goes to the consumer, she sprays it, she does not have to take it out. Perhaps there is a small wiper also attached, which she does not have to carry separately. And then she cleans with that one. Now you see the experience of that consumer, she will be simply delighted. Again, the function is only cleaning, but it is the experience. So what point I'm bringing is the supply chain management and the relevance of design thinking is that now the supply chains are not delivering the products, they are delivering the experiences. When some of the product reaches your home, now one of other example which I give is some of the perfume delivery companies, when they are going, when you open the pack, the perfume comes out because the packaging is designed that way that the sample perfume comes out, you can smell it and you get delighted. So I think the point I'm driving over here is that supply chain management now is going, because of this design thinking, from the product delivery to the experience delivery. There are 3 points which I'll try to make, that rather than concentrating on the product, the design thinkers in supply chains are now concentrating on the consumer job, what consumer wants to do. Number 2, it is like solve the problem for the consumer, not for the consumer, but with the consumer. You know, you be in her shoes, find out what all is required. So solve the problem with the consumer. And finally, that no solution is final one. The design thinking, in my opinion, is problem centric, not solution centric. It's a problem. What is the problem and what are the number of solutions which we can provide to consumer. So third one is it is very iterative. You stop somewhere, might not be the final solution. Maybe you need to think more, and in future, in phase 2, phase 3, you can come out with another solutions which meets the consumer requirement much better than what you thought earlier it was. So that is my thinking about supply chain management, Anjali.
Great, sir. Sir, I want, picking up from this question, since we spoke about FMCG sector specifically, I would direct my one more question to you, which is there's a concept of something called touch points or touch time in supply chain. What does one understand with that? And does design thinking really impact the touch time in the supply chain transactions? And does it really fail also? Have we seen some kind of design thinking activities failing in the SCM or in the FMCG market for that?
Sure, I think I'll take one by one. One thing is the touch points. What are the touch points during the supply chain? So I think while you start right from sourcing to product design to manufacturing and to delivering it finally to the consumer, these all are the touch points, right? And these touch points could be internal and it could be external as well. These all, whatever the process which are involved into supply chain, those are the touch points. And now coming to your point that how design thinking is improving or how it is impacting the touch points, I would say, I would answer this very briefly, that during the design thinking process, you have traveled the road so much, so iteratively, that the chances of success are much higher. And talking about your point on the failures, I think the design thinking works on the failures. More you fail in the earlier stages, more you succeed later on with the consumer. So yes, design thinking, I think it fails many a time when the enough iterative process are not done. However, if you take consumer right from the beginning and be in her shoes, the number of iterative process and number of the issues you involve in resolving and then bring out the problems, I think the chances of failure go down.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Ajay, coming back to you, let's have what the IT and design thinking do together. So if you can share what is the relevance of IT and design thinking in the technology phase?
Sure. So I think I'll take this through an example. Okay, let's just try and understand it through one of the projects that we were doing with a bank. Okay, so the project was, the bank was trying to automate or wanted to automate its entire document management system, or they wanted to go digital. And the first, at a very primitive stage, the initial requirements of going digital is that your entire backend of documents and everything needs to at least be digitized first, and you need to have that first in place, and then you get into any kind of front end applications and things that you develop. So they were going through that journey. So as an organization, we got that mandate, and we were trying to look at how do we start with our entire design of the system and the processes, and how do we map it and all do together. Now, interestingly, what we did this time was we changed our entire way of the kickoff of the project itself. Okay, so. And this will give you a lot of clue about how design actually helps into any kind of IT projects as well. That's one part of it. And I'll also try and touch upon that. How does technology play a role in enabling design? That is also a separate thing that I'll discuss. But first, let me cover this. So then, when we started off with this entire project, while the specs were really clearly laid out as a part of the RFP, the request for proposal that they had given to us, we wanted to still do an exploratory workshop with them, the entire empathy phase of design. And in that, what we requested the customer, and I also talk about some challenges that we normally face. What we requested the customer is we did an entire user stakeholder mapping of the system, and we tried to bring out that who would be the impacted people who would be using this system. And we also wanted to bring out some end customers like me and you who are using banking services, because ultimately in the end we will get impacted somehow. So we brought them into an entire at one single place, and we started doing an exploratory workshop around understanding, using design principles of empathy, understanding in a very open-ended way to look at what are they going through and what are they expecting, what are their aspirations, what are their challenges that they're facing with the present kind of system that the bank has. Initially, what looked like a 3-pager spec document got converted into a 14-pager spec document, saying that these are the things that we will need to do additionally if we have to add value to the entire challenge that we are trying to address for the customer by implementing a technology into the client's environment. Now, through which came up another problem for us. That because it was an RFP, we had already bidded for it. We already had a amount that we had quoted for it. So it was a fixed scope and a fixed amount that we would get paid. But for us, the scope expanded heavily. So that's the when I typically talk about project side of design, that's the downside of it as well. That a lot of times in the advent or in the quest for figuring out more and more problems that your customers have or that the users will have, you face this kind of challenge. So practically in business, I have quoted X amount and I need to deliver for the present scope that was told to me. So now what happened? The approach that we took that entire specs document to the CTO of the bank, saying that while the scope that you had mentioned was this, but today from our entire journey that we have done with your users and customers as well, this is what we see as the problem that you have, or these are the various problems that you have, which is much beyond what you are right now envisaging. So he said, Ajay, we don't have money to pay you. If you're thinking that with this kind of amount or with this kind of scope, if you can deliver it in the present amount itself, it's great. Otherwise, you'll have to drop it. We said, fine. We said, if that is the stand that you take, that we have a fixed amount, then we will do it. What we will do is we will deliver it in phases, and that's how we will approach it. So we said the first phase is the scope that you've given to us. We will deliver to that scope. But if during the journey you feel that it is incomplete, be open to come to us and say that, Ajay, I feel that you need to include the other parts of the project as well. And this is what happened. This is what actually happened. The CTO came to us and said, Ajay, can we bring those things as well? Because I think that this problem or this entire system will be incomplete, or at least maybe from a systemic angle, you will be able to do it. But from a customer's angle, there will be things that will still be missing, which will be very difficult for us to later on plug in. And we expanded the scope. We put it as change requests to the customer, and we expanded the scope, and the revenue also expanded. There came in a point when the customer said, Ajay, I think you understand my users and customers better than me. And today we are almost 3 years into the project, and we are picking up more and more use cases. We are picking up more and more journeys, more and more digital journeys that we're doing with the bank. And that's how I think from a IT industry standpoint, I think that's where one of the adoption points is that it helps you find the problems or go deeper into understanding what the user challenges are. Then you go into your agile journeys and any kind of journeys of development, when you start developing and you start delivering. But I think the first stage, that's where design thinking helps extremely from an IT industry and a project standpoint. I mean, that's my take on how it helps IT as an industry or as a method to kind of deliver.
Superb. You know what you have done, Ajay? In the process of answering my question, you have also satisfied one person who has written on the chat window, why don't you give us some real life examples? So I think this has also been sorted out for him. Thank you so much. So back to you, Vikas. We are a management institution and we have lots of schools. Now I have two major questions for you again. One is that we hear a lot about Capgemini's, design thinking labs that you have. So we would like to know about them. And secondly, if we were to start a similar kind of a lab in our college, what would we be required to be doing for that? Can we do that? Can we not do that? Maybe we cannot, I don't know.
Yes, why not? I mean, anyone can do that. And that's the principles of design thinking. You know, one of the chat questions I came across, the person was asking, if I'm not very creative or innovative, can I still apply design principle methodologies? And the answer is why not? And that is why people have boxed it, given to you as a methodology. You follow that. So it doesn't require that you have to be very innovative if you want to play, but if you follow these methodologies, you will come to an innovative solution. Obviously, there is a teamwork and there are other factors in it. Far as Capgemini is concerned, we do have our labs and we call them ASEs, Accelerated Solution Environment Labs. And there are also AIEs, which is Applied Innovation Exchange Labs. And we extensively use our design thinking principles there. If I give you some example, like this situation. So I'm part of the university. There is a BU called University in Capgemini where we design all the courses for our people. This COVID situation, it changed our way of delivery entirely. So we have our campus in Paris and it's fully loaded, always unavailable. And now it's completely empty and it will remain empty till Q1 of 2021. Because all the programs were heavily getting delivered in face-to-face setup. And we have a huge setup there and all technically hi-fi things. In fact, we were also thinking of having a hologram of our CEO there on the stage at one time. But now if we have to change the delivery, there could be two things. What I have seen many institutes doing, they take their face-to-face delivery and put it on Teams or Zoom call or Cisco WebEx and try to deliver the same. Now that's not design thinking. Design thinking is not that you are delivering your curriculum virtually. Design thinking is about designing the curriculum to be delivered virtually. So it's a completely different shift. So you have to design it so that the adequate level of engagement is there for the participants. The content is absorbable. In the classroom, they can sit for 2 hours, but on web, it's very hard to make them sit for 2 hours and not doing anything. The attention span is 1/3 on virtual as compared to the classroom. So these are the principles you have to keep in mind. Again, keeping them in the center and then designing course around it. So how we do it, we have launched a particular program that I am designing for virtual. I am launching 4 different types of surveys. One is for the batch who graduated in the last 2 years. Second is for the alumni batch who graduated 3 to 4 years back. And we are asking them suitable set of questions that what do they feel about the program and how it can be taken virtually. Third is the outside view, where I'm interacting with the external training providers and asking them that what our competition are doing, what they think will work in the virtual design. Fourth is the inside view. So you see the number of surveys, and it is just to get that one first step of empathy. What would people feel? How would people feel that how the course should be designed, so that we can design an adequate course around that. So these are the things which we typically follow in today's environment. It has to be virtual, and then we will do the virtual interviews with these people, and accordingly, it's a 1-year journey. And while other things are going on virtual, some of the courses we are redesigning, and they will be live in January. So that's one part. Second, about the labs, the ASE labs, the AIE labs, which I talked about. These are in multiple countries, in multiple provinces. And in these labs, it's based on, I think, the simple quotation of Einstein, which says that doing the same thing and expecting a different result is insanity. So normally we get into a call in a conference, we have our laptops with us, there is a projector screen, someone is doing the slideshows, and then we expect that we are running a design thinking workshop and we'll come out with something innovative and creative. No, human brain doesn't work that way. So in our labs, all these typical setups are not allowed. So you will find at a very basic level, bean bags, for example, soft toys all around. You will have Lego blocks. You will have some thermocols and some other different type of things which you can just pick and you can create something. You will have whiteboards. You will have post-it pad. You will have brown charts. And in these environments, you are not allowed to bring your laptops or mobile phone. You are not allowed to give any presentation. It's about you all sitting together and thinking that this is a problem statement. What potentially could be a solution? One of the methodologies which you talked about is empathize, define, ideate. That is one, but that is not the only one. Design thinking has a lot of other methodologies. Now, in another methodology, it talks about double diamond method. Another methodology talks about what is the problem? Then what if we do this? What if we do that? What wows and what works? So there are different methodologies. So we sit together, we brainstorm, we use all these different things, and there is a reason why these labs are designed in such a way so that it kicks in the innovative and creative part of you. You are not bound by the typical, my presentation, my laptop, my slides thing, and you think out of the box using these different equipment. So that's how we have designed it. In our AIE labs, you have all the technology stuff there. You have the AR journeys, you have the VR glasses, and you have all other tech things which help you ideate that what different model out of the box thinking could be. So if institutes like Jaipuria have to design it, then yes, you have to first design a lab which follows these design thinking methodologies and help people come out of their regular day-to-day thought process and start thinking creatively towards the problem solving. Because as I said at the beginning, design thinking is not used for your day-to-day problem solving thing. Design thinking is more about the problems which are open-ended. Problems are not well-defined. Solutions do not exist. Best practices do not exist. And you have to come up with something new, innovative. So you cannot innovate until you start thinking creatively. You cannot think creatively unless you come into that environment which encourages you to think creatively.
Great.
Does that help?
Ajay, I was just thinking, is there a correlation between what Vikas just explained and the concept of these tinkering labs that we have in our schools? Will it be connected? Vikas, Ajay, any one of you, or Narang Saab, are you? Can you help me understand this? There is a concept of Atal tinkering labs that we have in our schools. Now, these labs, there are a lot of things around, and we learn to develop new solutions through that. Now, the other day, our school principal was showing one stand that the students have created, which can be used for using these, taking out the sanitizer without using your hand. So,
in fact, the process we have understand so far for design thinking, and I heard from the expert. In fact, I tell you, first time I heard this design thinking, from the HR practitioner, then from the marketing practitioner, and then from IT and the supply chain. So, there is, what is my understanding, design thinking is still evolving from the domain wise to domain, from one domain to the other domain, and still it is designing. And you are rightly said, what we are having in our Atal Thinking Labs in various schools and the colleges, in incubation centers also, which we are taking out for the project which we in these labs, or there are also some 3D printers are there. There are some this softwares are there, where the same type of process which we are using by the student and by the faculty also. And one thing more I wondering while I listening all this in education, we are having one course this which we are delivering to every management student, that is called the research methodology. Vikas has
Yes.
just mentioned the various methodology in his recent address. So if I comparing that research methodology and the research design thinking, there is also precise and predefined process is there. So having starting with the research problem, with the research question, then literature review, then having the objectives, and then the hypothesis, and then implementing the tools. So if we see, there are the these are the step by step. And if I compare, I always go back to there, and I thinking that is also a kind of design thinking which we are taking up for solving one problem, whether it's a management problem or the medical problem, or any other problem.
Absolutely. And we also
So
have our
maybe our
learning as our top
industry
priority.
expert right.
Okay, I'll just take a shot at the Atal Tinker Labs one. I think what we need to understand is in the world of experimentation, and in the world of new product development or new service design and all these things, there are two kinds of methods that are prevalent. Okay, there's one method that talks about a lean startup. Okay, let's try and understand these two also. This will give you a clear differentiation. This will also add some steam to what Dr. Narang was mentioning right now. So I think when we talk about a lean startup, the key difference is lean startup starts with an idea. Okay, you have an idea saying that we want to build a, suppose I'll give an example, we want to build a sanitizer dispenser which should not be using hands. Okay, now that's an idea, and we straight away start our experimentation, and we start our whatever visualization, and then we start our protos, and then we try to bring out the final design of the product that we want to bring in. Wherein what design says is, fine, whatever your idea is, let's leave the idea aside right now. Let's understand the users first. Okay, let's go and understand from the various people who are going to use this dispenser, or who are going to use whatever the solution might be, going to use that, and let's try and go and understand their expectation and how will they use it, what will happen with them. And to tell you one more, just to add one more point here. So I mean, this is different. So lean startup starts with an idea. Design necessarily will always start with a problem and finding the problem, and not kind of just jumping onto a solution directly. And when we also talk about, so Atal Tinker Labs, I think some part of it is based on the lean startup principles as well. So, so I think that's something that we need to just bifurcate clearly, that what, and organizations, when you talk about my organization, we're talking about other organizations as well. I think organizations have both kind of projects. Okay, the challenge with design is it always takes it kind of slows down a bit, and lean startup is very fast. It will give you very fast results because most of the startups that you see today coming up are all based on lean startup principles. Most of them. 4 students coming out of Jaipur Institute of Management feel that it's a great idea that they have. They will start building it. They will start pushing it to the market. They have an MVP, minimum viable product. They will push it to the market very fast. But risk is high. But when you look at the design principle, risk is lower because you have involved the customer or the user at various junctures across the entire journey. The risk is lower, but it's slightly slower as well. So, I mean, that's the frame that we need to understand the things that the activities that are going on, because I have been to Atal Tinker Labs in Mumbai. I think they work on both the kind of principles, both the kind of things that they are working towards. So that's, I think that's another aspect. And coming on to one more thing that Dr. Narang highlighted about research, I think one thing that we need to also kind of understand that from a research standpoint itself, I think the focus of an empathy-based research, or the way that you drive an empathy-based research, is very different from a way where that you will drive your normal market research by. Okay, when I try, I mean, any survey-based research that you do, if I want you to visualize how the whole survey-based things work, if I'm doing a survey, I will typically try and go broad. I will get the broad trends of what is happening and what not is happening. If I have to go deep, that's where empathy research comes in, wherein I need to go and understand the whys and what is happening, why is something happening. If I see an hypothesis there, or if I see some trend happening there, why is that happening? That's where empathy research will come in, wherein it's about going and spending time observing, engaging, and immersing yourself into the with the user. I mean, we have been a part of projects where we were designing a product for a e-commerce company, wherein we went across, we went and met physically, face to face. We spent at least 4 hours with 200 plus senior consumers across India. When I say senior consumers, I'm talking about senior citizens. So we wanted to understand that who are the new senior citizens of India, and we wanted to also understand that if this e-commerce company has to design its entire e-commerce experience, as well as looking at products that are there targeted only towards senior consumers and delivering experiences to them, then the empathy approach will take. And in that, they also wanted us to say that please do the market sizing also for us. So we did the market sizing, but the approach to do the market sizing was very different versus when we went into deeper understanding the consumer behavior and understanding consumer pains and what are the senior consumers expecting today.
Great. I really do not want this conversation to end, but I think we're almost there. Just before we end, Radhamohan sir, there is a big list of questions that we have got. But one question I want to ask you, and then last question I'll ask these two gentlemen to quickly answer, and then we will close. In the present scenario, how do you see design thinking supporting our socio-economic systems of where we are today? So is there any support? Is there any thought process that you can really highlight in the present situation, our economy, our social circles? How do you see that supporting?
Right. I think in this pandemic situation, which we are in, first of all is it starts right from, so how do I source from my suppliers? The supplies factories are not working. Half of them are not working, right? So it starts right from sourcing. That the problem, I can run my plant when my suppliers' plants are running, because I'll be able to produce only when they are able to supply to me. So number one. Now, if we take, I think we have to take each link of supply chain, but I'll try to answer this question from this first link. And then I think same can be extrapolated to the different links, right? When you are producing, when you are supplying, blah, 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 to the last mile delivery as well. Now, if we are saying that how the design thinking can help, now take the live example where your suppliers are not able to produce. Now that's where it comes in, that how do we collaborate with the suppliers? How do we build up on each other's capabilities so that your suppliers are able to produce? I'll give again an example. If you are in an essential product production company and you have got the different support from the government, I think same could be passed on to your suppliers, that they are supplying to a company who is producing essential products, and they should get all the facilities, all the deviations which are given to me. Now that's where the collaboration comes in, number one. In this pandemic situation, you will also find that design thinking, I think it's a wonderful example, and it breaks all the book rules in terms of the ABC analysis, because that last E-class item can stop the production of your A-class item. And that's where your design thinking comes into the picture. You think innovatively that whatever goes into my A-class item is A-class raw material for me, because that smallest one also can stop my production. So that is another design thinking which comes into the picture. Third, which if I relate particularly to this pandemic, is that there are big suppliers, small suppliers, medium-sized suppliers, and the one who got impacted majorly are the SMEs, which are the small suppliers. They don't have the working capital to operate with. And that's where, again, it comes into that which kind of processes you design in this pandemic situation, this crisis situation, so that they get their working capital fast. And then there are methods, supply chain financing, cash discounting, providing them, supporting them to fund. I think, again, it comes to the design thinking, that you are thinking out of the way to collaborate with these all suppliers and trying to come out of the situation. And let me tell you, this is entirely for your reason that you want to run your plant. And that's what all things I do, so that it supports that final objective which I have in my mind. So this is one of the example, Anjali, I can give in the crisis situation. Similar part I think can be extrapolated for the last mile delivery. When I supply the product from my plant to the distribution center, how I'm ensuring that they are reaching my consumer. Maybe I'm transferring them directly. Maybe I'm having direct collaboration or the tie-up with Zomato, Swiggy, etc., which happened recently, by the way. That most of the FMCG companies, they tied up with one of these last mile delivery companies and supplied their product, kind of thing. So this all falls into that kind of innovative thinking and is part of the design thinking. I hope I could answer your question partially.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So last, I really don't want to hang up, but then last question to Ajay and Vikas. I have not come across so many questions in the past couple of webinars that we have been hosting, and I'm loaded with questions over here. Everybody wants solution to their segment, to their industry. But a very quick one, Ajay, how do we relate AI and design thinking?
How do we relate AI and design thinking? I mean, there are two. I have seen it in two contexts. Okay, I can give you both I try and give you both the contexts. Okay, I have seen AI aiding design thinking, and I have seen design thinking being used to design an AI-based application, or to design an AI-powered application. So, I mean, just to give an example. When I talk about an AI aiding design thinking, which is about that a system that is powered by artificial intelligence, continuously gives me insights of my consumer trends, of how consumers are using or what consumers are preferring. Let's take the example of Amazon. If I talk about the application which is powered by AI as a technology or by AI-based algorithms, it is continuously giving insights to the team that is sitting in at the back end in Amazon about what are the consumer trends. Basis that, they are helping their vendors or the people who are there on the platform who are selling their products to design products and solutions or services that can help consumers have a better experience. That's one side of it, wherein AI is aiding the method of design to design better solutions or to design a better experience. The other side of it is when you're designing an AI-based algorithm, you need to first understand, and you can use design principles there as well. You need to first understand that what are the kind of outputs and insights that my user wants from the whole AI-based system. And basis that, you design your algorithm. So I mean, it's if I look at it, it's a loop that you create wherein AI aids design thinking and design also aids AI. So I mean, that's the way that I look at it.
Superb, thank you. So coming to you, Vikas, Six Sigma, Agile, project management, design thinking. Is there a connect? And if there is a connect, how are they?
That reminds me, once I was, so I know a little bit of astrology as well, and I was talking to one of the astrologer that astrology, numerology, tarot reading, how are these all connected? And he told me that because all are the same. So once you learn the principles, then you realize they are not much different from each other. And this is the thing which I suddenly came to my mind when you asked me the question. See, these are the principles which are not complementing to each other, that you use this or alternate, you use this. I think they work in tandem with each other. For example, if I talk about Six Sigma, so Six Sigma is about your reducing the defects. It again talks about being customer focused, identifying the root cause, eliminating defects. If you talk about Agile, it is again 4 values, 12 principles. It talks about customer being at heart. You give customer more preference as compared to the contract. Customer, you do the prototyping and satisfy your customer. So these are some of the Agile principles. And if you talk about design thinking, again, it starts with the human-centric, customer-centric approach. So if you see from that perspective, you see a wider connectivity on all these principles in terms of they want to be human-centric, they want to be customer-focused, they want to be resolving the problems, they want to be eliminating the defects and coming up with some solution, innovative solution at the end. So that's how. And nowadays, many of the companies, they are using a converged model of design thinking, Six Sigma, Agile, all together, rather than saying that, okay, I'm using only this. That again talks about being Agile, responding to the change when you collect all your terminologies and all the methodologies, and then you start delivering and working on a problem solution, rather than saying, no, I'm strictly following Agile, I'll not see anything else. So I think they converge a lot, and they help in basic principles, underlining principle of all remain the same if you actually study deep into that and look into the basic principles and methodologies of these 3 things.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So I wish this never ended because I am enjoying it so much. I am not confused anymore. So that is one major achievement of this program for me. I was utterly confused. Looking at Sanandhi smiling, I'm sure she's also thinking the same way. Ma'am, you're just getting my thoughts over.
Any inputs and
so I know
very
that.
unclear that how,
So we have,
how, yeah, can you?
Absolutely. So we have been hearing so much of design thinking, I must tell you, in our internal meetings these days, that the other day Narang Saab said, Madam, itna sun rahe hain design thinking, chalo ek design thinking pe workshop karte hain. This is how all of this idea came up. And we're really very happy that we did this program. And looking at the chat window and how people are responding, I think we haven't come across such fantastic reviews lately. This is super, very, very good program that we've had. I'm sure we all had our key learnings, and I will request all the participants to actually, if you really list down 3-4 things that you're taking back as learning from here. My key learnings are that everything has not just the human, but what the society, the culture, like what Ajay said, I really take that from him. It is not just about human, it is also about the birds, the plants, the whole environment around, the ecological system at the center, which is a very, very beautiful thought. Then I really loved what Vikas spoke about feedbacks. And Sanandhi, I don't know, probably you're already doing it. When we are designing our courses, our syllabus, our curriculum for the year, we go back and we ask our alumni what are the problems that they have faced in the last 2-3 years. And maybe we can look at redesigning our curriculum using the design thinking patterns.
Only
Probably we are already doing it.
Better curriculum.
And then what Radhamohan said, customer interest, simultaneous promotion of all interest. Amazing thought that keeping in mind, how would my customer use my product? Will it help? Will it not help? And if you think like your customer would, amazing results that you can get. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, I think what you all said, and which the model of design thinking says, keep trying, even if you fail, try again. And that is what we should continuously, I think that means that design thinking is a very integral part of our life, because we have to keep trying at every stage in our life. So with this, I thank all of you. Narang Saab, you would want to add some comment over here? Otherwise, we can call it off.
Oh, it's okay. So for my side, there is no point. You already briefed. And once again, we, thanks to our esteemed panelists and my fellows, my colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was really fun hosting this program, and a lot of learning, a lot of air has been cleared, and I don't get scared of design thinking. I'm sure many of us around who are attending the program are are also sharing the same thoughts. Thank you so much. Over to you,
I'm
Sanandhi.
sure you were never scared before also.
No, I was, Ajay, definitely I was. Asked Narang sir when he told me that madam ye karte hain, so I said, sir, mujhe to pata ho design thinking kya hai. I was very scared. No. Sanandhi, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks everyone. Bye. Take care.
I will just propose a formal vote of thanks so that I can just give my takeaways. So thanking Narang sir for taking us to the very concept of design thinking and telling us that this is what human race has been doing for years, and this is lately that we've realized that this has a terminology with it. So thanking Vikas sir for taking us to the concept that design thinking is fit to one concept, and for exemplifying the saying that doing same thing and expecting other solution every time is insanity, and how we can use design thinking in academia for solving every wicked problem we will face from now onwards. Thanking Ajay sir for taking us to the 3 principles of design thinking, that empathy above everything, experimentation, and evolution never ends. Thank you for introducing us to the concept of inverted empathy wheel, which I will remember. Thank you. From a product delivery to an experience delivery. Thank you, Anjali ma'am, for taking us to the thought that how a secondary teacher took up design thinking to reconceptualize the whole classroom. I'm sure your confusion has given us a lot of answers, given the audience a lot of answers. Thank you all the panelists for being with us for the day. We've got a lot of insights from all of you. Gratitude to all of you. And thank you all the people who are listening to us across India.